Let's talk about some rookies, guys, because it's the end of the year. Let's look at the final rookie grades for the end of the year. So starting off right away, Myles Murphy. Myles Murphy had an interesting rookie season. After being our first round pick this year and us passing on Sam Laporta, Michael Mayer, and many other players, at the end of the day, I know it's going to take some time for Myles Murphy to develop. I thought he was going to be a guy who could just put right in, try out different spots, and really see him blossom. Simply was not the case. He played 305 out of 1,097 snaps. So, a little bit around one-third of the snaps, he actually did go ahead and play. First three weeks, he had an okay, iffy performance. Then he had an awful performance in week 4. That's when we played the Titans. That's not surprising. Then week 5, okay performance. Week 6, awful performance. And then week 8 after our week 7 bye week, he had an okay, kind of bad performance. And then 3 awful performances before having a really good one, a medium one, a bad one, a great one, and then 3 awful performances to end off this season. So overall, I will say for his overall grade for the year, it's going to be a D+. It was a rough rookie season for Myles Murphy. I feel like, while yes, he did play a good amount of snaps, 305, he wasn't out there every single time, possible. So, for the most part, he wasn't able to capitalize on certain plays or big plays that other players made that would have brought his grades up a tad bit. DJ Turner, the man we drafted in the second round from Michigan. Now, DJ Turner really was thrust into a role that we didn't really think he was going to be going into this season. Cheeto was supposed to be back and healthy going into this season after coming back during training camp, and instead, Cheeto had a setback. Cheeto got hurt again. He had a back injury. So DJ Turner was kind of thrust into a starting role and a rotational spot at the number 1 cornerback spot. It sucked. It really did. And I think for the most part, DJ Turner played 829 out of 1,097 snaps. Did pretty good. Now, he is a rookie, right? And he's a second round pick. Keep that in mind. He's not a first round pick. He's a second round pick. But I still think he did a really good job for the situation he was forced into. This guy was supposed to be a fourth corner in the depth chart behind Cam Taylor-Britt, Cheeto, Mike Hilton, and then him. And then even then, it was going to be a rotation between him and Sidney Jones. And he had to really step up and do his best to become a number 1 corner. And first game, perfect. Second game, awful. Third, fourth, and fifth game, pretty good. Sixth game, he was not the greatest. And then the rest of the season was kind of ups and downs. I mean, he had, again, some good games. 1, 2, 3. 3 good games. 4, maybe. I'd say 1 game. And then the rest were just awful games. And he was the guy that teams would target during our games and be like, oh, there's the weak point. Target DJ Turner. And then they realized that Cheeto also can't cover, so they started targeting Cheeto as well. But yeah, no, it's one of those things where it's like he's a rookie, and we have to stop putting too much pressure on rookies. And sometimes when you look at a guy out there and he's getting cooked alive, or he's getting destroyed, you're like, oh, come on, man, why can't you do your job? Well, he's a rookie, and that's kind of what you have to expect from rookies. So number 3. Jordan Battle. Now, Jordan Battle played 525 out of 1,097 snaps. He was the guy who really blossomed this year. He was, in my opinion, our best draft pick. Mainly because he was able to do exactly what we needed him to do. We drafted him to be the guy to eventually take over for Nick Scott. And exactly what we expected, exactly what he did. In the second half of the season, he really took off. And the first half, he didn't play many snaps, obviously. But he still had a really decent start to the season. Second half, though, he blossomed immensely, had a lot of great games, only 2 bad games in the second half of the season, which, again, for rookie safety here, I know he's from Alabama, so he's from a really good defense, but he really took off, and he is now our starting safety. And after losing Von Bell and Jesse Bates, I can't wait to see how much more, Jordan Battle can progress into year 2. Because going into this year, it was like, okay, he is the backup strong safety. We'll see what he can do. And then the preseason was a little rough with him getting actually thrown out of one game because of an unnecessary roughness after the play that gave them a touchdown in the end. And then it led to our season, and, we were like, okay, well, maybe he could be something good. And he wasn't the starter. He was a backup, and now he is the starter, which is exactly what you want to see out of a pick, right? You want to see a draft pick go from a backup to a starting player on the roster. Chuck Sizzle! Wonderful week 18 against the Browns the other day. I would say we didn't utilize this man at all on offense. But he actually did get like 23 snaps on offense the other day, which actually now puts him at a 44 out of 1,088. Other than Poison Ivy, who got hurt, he's had the least amount of snaps on his side of the ball. Now, obviously, he's a punt returner. He was also kick returning a little bit. So we have utilized him every single game in some orientation. And he also missed a lot of games due to injuries. He missed a total of 6 games due to injury. And then one game, we just didn't use him at all on offense, which was week 17. There's not much I can say from Chuck Sizzle's point of view, right? Because when we finally used him in week 18, he looked good. He looked amazing. But he looked good against backups. And I kind of have to say that point of view because their secondary was actually all backups. So I don't know how I feel about it. Other than the week 2 game versus Baltimore, where we had an amazing punt return and everyone got excited. There was a flag called, but they picked it up. Somehow, some way, the refs actually helped us out. He hasn't really done anything since. And I don't know how to feel about him because they didn't try him out. They didn't give him any opportunities to really be on this offense. And it sucks because he was supposed to be Tyler Boyd's replacement. And I'm going into year 2 next year with the same exact ideas I had going into this year. I wonder what he can do. We haven't seen what he can do. So, Chuck Sizzle is the biggest question mark going into next year. I don't know what he can be or what he can't be. Chase Brown, he is the future of our running back position. Eventually, Joe Mixon will leave us or retire, and Chase Brown will be our RB1. That was pretty much dictated after the last couple weeks of the season. Chase Brown, 93 out of 1,088 snaps. First part of the season wasn't utilized at all. Literally got like maybe 1-2 snaps a game. Then he gets injured for 4 games. After we say, we're going to start using you. Gets injured for 4 games. Comes back, doesn't get utilized at all in week 12. And then from week 12 on, he has been our RB2. And when I say RB2, I mean Samaje Perine RB2. He's been getting the load of carries. And he's looked good. He's definitely looked good. He still has some of that, rookie running back rust on him, and he's going to have that. Again, he is a rookie, but he has looked like a very capable runner and a very successful runner, especially when he catches the ball. He's a very good pass catcher as well, and he's a good pass blocker. So he is the future for this team. So in all honesty, these 2 picks, I think we hit it out of the park. We got ourselves 2 future players that could potentially be absolute superstars for us. Brad Robbins, the man everyone wants to cut and get rid of. I still will say I want to see what he does in year 2, okay? Because not every single punter, most punters are not good their rookie season. Kickers can be. Kickers, a lot of times, they are really good the rookie season because if you're not a good kicker in the rookie season, usually you get cut. Punters, usually it takes a little bit of time for them to get going. We're going to see how he progresses in year 2 for Brad Robbins. I'm not putting out there that he's a bust. I'm not saying we should cut him. I know a lot of people are saying that in my comment section and live streams everywhere, and I get it. Listen, he was not that great this year. He wasn't even not that great. He was horrendous this year. I mean, you look at the grades. I mean, this guy is putting up laughable numbers. His best grade of the season was a 67.7. And other than that, I mean, it's reds and yellows. That's all it is. This man has his own Christmas theme, for Pete's sake. But It is what it is. We'll see how he does. He had 78 punts this year. We'll see how he does in year 2. Yoshi! Yoshi was, I would say, one of the most surprising takeoff players this year. And the reason why I say that is because I don't think anyone expected going to this year for him to be as productive as he has been. He has played 1/5 of the offensive snaps, which I thought he was going to get a lot of snaps this year. I didn't think he was going to get 1/5 of the snaps. And after not being really utilized the first half of the year, he blossomed in the second half of the year being utilized. He didn't put up the best grades, but for the most part, he got the job done. And for our injury to Jamar Chase, to T. Higgins, to left, right, and center, it was nice to have a guy who could fill in and be that wide receiver 3 that we truly needed. Poison Ivy, man. I feel bad for him. He didn't get many opportunities this year. 31 out of 1,097. And finally, when it seemed like he was getting his opportunities, was after the Steelers game, when he had his most snaps he's ever had, and then he's out. He's out for the season, the game after that. And, you know, for a guy who is a 7th-round pick, okay, not many 7th-round pick corners survive in the NFL. I know the Steelers have one in, I think his name is, I can't remember his name now. Price, I want to say. Tracy Price. He was a 7th-round pick, and he was looking great in preseason. Before preseason's over, tears his whole entire, I think he tore something, and he was out for the season. Now we have the same concept applying to our guy here, Poison Ivy. At least he was able to play majority of the season, but then he gets hurt. And it's like, were we utilizing him that much? No. But it's still one of those things where when you look back at your draft class, you want to see the best potential from all your guys. And I will say, going into year 2, what do we want to see? Well, first off, I want to see DJ Turner really home in on his skills. I think he has more speed than any other cornerback in our secondary. And I think that's a huge, huge, huge W. Problem is, though, he needs to learn how to control it, how to cover better, and how to stick to his man. Myles Murphy, do something. Jordan Battle, just continue what you're doing. What you're doing is working. And I like it when it's working. Chuck Sizzle, please just utilize him. Please just get him on the field. Get him on offense. I don't care if he is like the Trent Irwin of our team. He needs to be the Trent Irwin. He's younger. I don't think he has better hands. I think Trent Irwin has great hands. But I think he could be a future, okay? He's the future slot receiver. Get him on the field. Chase Brown, honestly, I would say with year 2, I want to see at least 500 yards rushing, and I want to see a couple touchdowns. I'm not expecting too much from Chase Brown in the second year. And then you might say, oh, what do you mean? He should be going out there being the best running back ever. Because we're going to keep Joe Mixon. We're going to keep Joe Mixon as RB1 going into year 2. We have another year under him under contract where he took a pay cut to stay with us. Keep that in mind. He took a pay cut to stay with us. So we're going to keep him for another year. So I'm not expecting too much because I think Joe Mixon will vulture a lot of those rushes / carries / touchdowns. Brad Robbins, for your sake, my guy, I'm expecting a lot. And I will fully say for your sake because Houday Nation does not like you right now. Yoshi! Honestly, I'm just expecting him to really, what it comes down to for him is just continue progressing on the rate you're progressing on. Like, here's what I'll say about Yoshi, right? He's a 6th-round receiver. I'm not expecting a very high return on our investment here. I'm not. So, with what he has done so far, I'm pretty damn happy on that return. You don't get that out of 6th-round picks usually. So I would say, honestly, just keep doing what you're doing. Keep being that great outside receiver, and we'll see how you can progress. I mean, like, again, like, I know that's an awful analysis, but, like, there isn't much that I'm expecting from Yoshi. I have never expected that much from Yoshi. I've always expected him to be a solid wide receiver 3 or wide receiver 4, and right now, he's at that point after year 1. He is a solid wide receiver 4. I would say he's a low-end wide receiver 3, high-end wide receiver 4. And that's after 1 year in our system. So, with that being said, there isn't really too much I'm sitting here and saying, oh, I expect this, this, and this. No, you hit my expectations, Yoshi. and you're a 6th-round pick. I was not. I was expecting after this year for me to say that he was a wide receiver 5, low-end wide receiver 4. I was hoping he would be a low-end wide receiver 3, high-end wide receiver 4. He has exceeded that. So, at this point with Yoshi, whatever else he can give me, I'll be happy. If he ends up with a low-end wide receiver 2, high-end wide receiver 3 after next year, that would be through the moon for me. And Poison Ivy, honestly, I'm not really expecting too much from you, man. I don't know what to expect from Poison Ivy because, again, they didn't utilize him at all this year, really. He only played 31 snaps out of 1,097. And I know he missed 4 games, so a 31 out of roughly around 757. There's not much I expect from you, really. And I hope you can get on the field. I'll say it like that. Because again, like I said, they didn't utilize him. And they don't utilize him. They don't think he's good enough in their offense, on defense, to actually be successful. And at the end of the day, Lou's going to put the best players out there that he thinks are the best for him. So if you're not on that level that Lou needs you to be on, then there's not much we can really talk about. And if we draft a cornerback this year, which we potentially might, or we might sign one, Poison Ivy might not make the 53-man roster. So it is what it is. It's football. Not every single player is going to stay on your team from a draft class. 7th-round draft picks usually do not stay on your team. I think the number right now is picks 4 through 7. There's a 34% chance that they actually make the active roster. And every one of our players made the active roster. So that just goes to show how much they performed well in preseason and training camp and rookie mini camp to get an active roster spot. And you know what? I think going into next season, all of them, maybe except for Poison Ivy, will be on this roster. Thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next one. Peace.